Haley show. And you know what? It's interesting is I don't know if my guest today understands. I'm a former teacher, taught X amount of years, and also have run a tutoring business and have clients that I work with currently that talk about the summer slide and what happens during the summer slide. So my guest today has a new podcast that's going to get kids engaged and stuff like that. Mindy Thomas. Mindy, thanks for stopping by, and how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So tell us specifically a little bit quick background on you before we get right into the podcast.
Yeah, so I am a kids media lifer. I have been working in kids media for 23 years. I have had through that whole time I've had a show every morning on Sirius XM's Kids Place Live channel called the Absolutely Mindy Show. And then 7 years ago, my partner Guy Roz and we started this podcast called Wow in the World and this kids media company called Tinkercast, where we wanted to create screen-free, engaging content for kids, and that's what we've been doing the last 7 years. So we've got a bunch of podcasts starting with our flagship show, Wow in the World, some spin-offs from that, and our newest show called Once Upon a Beat, which is a hip-hop musical retelling of classic fables and folk tales, hosted by DJ Fuchs, which is he's a kids hip hop artist out of Brooklyn.
Well,
So
congrats on being number one science podcast for kids. That's awesome. I have my own little accolade, and that is the number two celebrity podcaster in the world, according to FeedSpot. And so, it's pretty cool. I'll hopefully be number one out of the top 30. And they go by a lot of different metrics, not just downloads, but followers, relevant content, how I keep bringing it. But you definitely keep bringing it to kids. So tell me how you keep kids engaged on a podcast.
well, Wow in the World, and I would say all of our podcasts, we create these cartoons for the ear. And I feel like kids learning is fun. I don't want to even like hide the fact that they're learning. We can just discovering things is fun. As an adult, I love doing it. So we take real peer-reviewed scientific research and then we present it through this narrative, character-driven, funny world-building podcast that is sort of a cartoon for the ear. And so we often have kids say, "Oh, I've watched every episode of Wow in the World." And like, there's nothing to see. Kid, you're that's all in your imagination. And so I feel like we've really done our job when kids feel like they can see what we've created, what they're listening to. And we've started this campaign with Wondery this summer called the Summer of Wow, where instead of having your kids spend all summer long indoors on a tablet, on a phone, playing games, watching YouTube, which YouTube is great. We also have a YouTube channel, the WowTube. We wanted to create ways for them to get outside and engage with the world and find their wow. So we've got new episodes that are dropping every week. We've got a Summer of Wow scavenger hunt where you can get outside and find these things and look at the world in a different way using all of your senses. We've got missions. This week's mission is to create an ecosystem, your own ecosystem in a jar where you find water from 3 different outdoor water sources. You put them together in a jar, screw on the lid, stick it in the sun, and watch what happens as this ecosystem begins to form. Um, and then we've got, road trip, favorite road trip stops. We've partnered with Apple Maps to give you places all around the country to stop on your your summer road trip. So lots of 360-degree experience. We want to be
Yeah.
wherever you are this summer.
Mindy, you're so creative. Okay. You're like the science center in a podcast in so many ways.
Yeah,
And
it's
add all
crazy.
add geotagging as well, right? In the way you're doing
Oh,
it with
yeah,
Apple
geocache.
Maps.
We're working on something with geocaching, yeah.
You get
The geocache.
geocache and all that. Add all these different components to finally get kids outside and finally get them to
Yeah,
explore their world versus living on TikTok all day, right? When we don't say YouTube because
yeah.
YouTube's educational. It's okay to have education. You shouldn't go crazy and say no electronic devices, nothing, because
Oh,
there are great educational tools out there. However, if if kids just want to listen to this, it's fantastic, and then you really can engage the parent and the child. And I think that's what you really see as a mission for what you're building with these all these different podcasts. Congrats on just
Yeah.
really finding a niche and attacking it in so many ways.
I think that's the biggest thing. It's not that, screens are the worst thing in the whole world, but I'm a parent and I know that there have been times where both of my kids are on phones or tablets in the car and I'm scrolling on mine and I'm realizing, "Oh, we're all here together, but we're in different worlds." And we wanted to create something that parents and kids can engage in together, where they're learning together. I mean, this is all new research that we're presenting. They're laughing together. We're trying to make ourselves laugh as much as kids when we're writing this podcast. And that is, I think, when we really feel like we've done our job, it's when parents and kids are listening and engaging together. And then when they're done, they're talking about what they just learned. It sparked their imagination, their curiosity. And so we want to just really create more opportunities for different generations to connect.
And that's definitely what you're doing is different generations to connect. And I mean, just listening to this, I'm like, wow. And but you again started from the beginning as a radio show. So you kind of evolved kind of like I have, where I still now can say podcast and be happy to say podcast, where 5 years ago I would say, oh, I'm a radio show. But that's how evolution comes, that because podcast is in the box and it's just anywhere people can listen to podcasts worldwide. So you have a
Right.
world audience too, right? Other countries
We
are
do.
enjoying your content as well, right?
Oh yeah, yep. And we've got lots of content. We've got a New York Times selling book series. We've got a whole
Wow.
line of STEM toys coming out starting this summer. There's a lot more to come, and we just want to be wherever kids are.
I'm very, very impressed. And what tips would you offer parents for that summer slide? What do you have them do so that they will be ready for next year, next school year?
I would say that your first stop is wondery.com/summer of wow. We've got it all there. We've got the podcast episodes to listen to. We've got the scavenger hunts. We've got a whole summer checklist of things that you'll want in your adventure toolkit for your family this summer, things to keep in the car or wherever you are. We want you to find your wow and then share it with us. So we've got ways for you to do that listed up there as well.
And I'm sure you're
Wondery.com/summer of wow.
oh, sorry, but I said think
Sorry, what?
you're totally learning how this is all changing so and evolving so quickly, right? The whole
Oh yeah.
podcast thing, the whole interactive thing, with AI and everything. It's pretty intriguing what's happening for opportunities. And I think the democratization of being able to put something like what you're building out here would not have been able to happen 20 years ago. It would just be
Yeah.
impossible. Now it's possible. You have your community, and congratulations on that community, and you're helping kids. And how,
Yeah.
like, I bet you another goal is to get it into every school in the country, right? All
Oh,
these
yeah.
and that's another big initiative, but I know you're going to get there for sure. And best place that people could
Oh,
check you
yeah.
out. Where is the best place, Mindy?
Yeah, I would say on the school front, we have a free project-based learning program for teachers or homeschoolers or even just families. It's called Tinkerclass. You can find that at tinkercast.com. But I would say for the summer of wow, just visit wondery.com/summer of wow.
Thanks, Mindy. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.